I am a survivor of genocide because I know a lot that didn't make it. So many committed suicide when they came out of that school. And a lot of us turned to alcohol to forget and died from it.
Seraine, let's talk about the big issues that you're doing, the big couple of issues, but I want to talk about something that just floored me, and is that your auntie's memories of being taken with her brother and her mother on the train to residential school. What a nightmare that was. It's just astonishing. And I'd like you to address the fact that your auntie was in residential school. She came out of it. She'd been through hell, and how it shaped her.
Yeah. You know, like you said, my auntie was very young when she went away to residential school, and she essentially grew up there. Everything that she knows about parenting, everything that she knew about sort of the time when you should be nurtured comes actually from being in the school. So when she finally got out of the school, finding a way to become herself, to navigate through the world was very difficult. And I think that a lot of people just think about the horrendous treatment that happened in the school, and they don't think about what it meant to walk through this world after. And so for my auntie, she had to relearn how to be proud of who she was, relearn how to even be who she was intended to be. Because at the school, she was taught to erase who she was and to essentially erase the Indigenous person in her.
But the one good thing that you talk about when she's late for an appointment to shoot is that she does things the way she wants, because she decided when she left residential school, she was going to do what she wanted. She wouldn't be told. Surely that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And, you know, I've always admired that spirit. It's like, it's such a force. And yeah, I think that she didn't let anyone tell her what to do, but she also just really took every opportunity to live the life she wanted, I think. And she even moved to LA, became a hairdresser, and yeah, she was a force.
I didn't get that. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
As it started to get dark, my little brother, Sonny, started pulling on my sleeve, crying, "I want my mommy. Give me my sissy, I want my mommy." And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how am I going to comfort this little guy? I'm having a hard time myself trying to figure out, where am I? Where am I going? And then finally it came to a standstill at this place, Spanish, Ontario.
All right, so two issues that I want to discuss with you is you were in a great hurry to get the documentary done because you were concerned that your auntie would fall victim to COVID, because First Nations tend to be more vulnerable to it. Why is that?
Yeah, so Indigenous people are more vulnerable to COVID for a number of reasons. One of them is just lack of access to the same level of healthcare. Also, it's demographic. It's like, where are you in the country, geography? But Indigenous people historically have higher rates of diabetes and health issues based on food sovereignty. And so they're just we are more at risk. And I think there's another layer that's added to that when you think about our elders and what they hold. So the very thought of a pandemic that could take literally all of our elders at once means some of the last language speakers could be lost, some of the last storytellers. And so it felt really urgent, like I needed to do this immediately. And pile that on with becoming a new mom, I think that it was just like, I absolutely need to know these things and have a record of them, and I need to do it right now.
Wow. And it was a race, and your mom joined too. She drove overnight to be there, to be part of it, to listen to what Auntie was saying, and to add also. And also the fact that Auntie is, as you say, the storyteller, the memory holder. Will you do more of these with her?
Oh,
I'd like to see
so
more.
now, yeah, it's so amazing now that I know what it's like to work with her, like to collaborate with her creatively. Yeah, I'm absolutely on board to do more. And I think right now, the current talk is about a storybook for my daughter. And so she wants to write. She actually wants to write about my mom and her relationship, which is
Oh,
one of the things that inspired the doc too. Was just these like fierce women who really redefined what their existence was going to look like and figured out a way to thrive.
it's amazing. It's just amazing. And I'd like to see a lot more of this. I'd like to see you cover it as long as you can. You know, she's so eloquent, and she has her memory is so clear, and she's a great person to provide these things to us, to all audiences. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, congratulations.
The first Sunday of every month for 2 hours, they would select a table for me and my brother. Sonny didn't come at first for the longest time, but Jimmy did. My brother Jimmy was older than I was, and Jim was there 2 years prior to when we entered school. And he had already been so abused that we submitted to their ways. So he didn't have a lot of conversation with me. And then finally he just stopped coming.
There was another thing about the residential schools that bothered me so much, and that was that the nuns or the ministers or whoever would say to the children that there were devils on the reservation and not to go back. Were any of these people ever held accountable?
So we are just looking at accountability right now in this country. I think it started with the apology that was made a number of years ago that inspired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to do their work. And now we have those 94 recommendations. I think accountability is something that each and every one of us need to consider. So how can we all be accountable to the injustices that Indigenous people are still facing today? And how we can all be accountable is to actively change the policies that still hold Indigenous people down, like access to clean drinking water, like the same access to education, like every other child. And when we're talking about residential schools, the truth is that there are more kids in care right now than were ever apprehended in the schools. So there are still policies in place that make sure that Indigenous kids don't get to stay in their homes and don't get to be raised in their communities. So yeah, there's so many ways that I think we can still hold people accountable, and that there hasn't been as much accountability as there needs to be. And a lot of these communities, they still have the same religious institutions with the same people who caused harm to this day in their communities. So we need to look at that. And so it's re-traumatizing always just to, you know, to walk by that institution in your town.
Wow. I hadn't thought of that. Wow. Now, you're an activist as well as many other things, like a filmmaker. At what age and for what reason did you become an activist?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I was raised by a pretty fierce single mom who is an activist herself. So I think I'm the youngest. So that was really ingrained in me by my older sisters and my mom. But I think I never had a choice whether or not I was going to be an activist. I think I just knew that being an Indigenous woman in this country meant that I was going to have to stand up for myself to be okay. And I was one of the only Indigenous kids in my school. I went to elementary school in Barrie, Ontario. It was really, yeah. And yeah, everything about everything I loved was different. And I would go to school and talk about sort of what I was doing on the weekends. And I was at community centers. I was with my people. I was at powwows. I was engaging in my own, you know, practices, and no one at my school knew what that was. And so we often target things that we don't understand, right?
Right,
so.
Right. And I bet they look back and think, why did I do that? Why didn't I learn? Anyway, yeah, that's incredible. I want to thank you so much, Serene.
In our way, we sit with our elders while they live.
We take the time to hear their stories and honor who they are. There's a world of women like her, elders who have carried life. They beat our moccasins and make us tea. We need to take the time to hear them and to remember the stories they can share while they're here. Stand with them, or at the very least, just sit with them for a few minutes every day.